Boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to see some board games? This is the Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and I feel like every week our intros get closer and closer to a Steve Brule episode from Check It Out, something that he would say. But it is Halloween. We are actually releasing this podcast on Halloween, even though we already did our nightmare video and all of our
Assuming no
other
technical
exploits.
delays.
Yes, of course, but there won't be. There never are. We always run a tight ship here at Roll for Crit. So happy Halloween. I hope you play some good spooky games and watch that nightmare playback, because that is the scariest thing you will ever see. And speaking of things that are scary, death is scary.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, some people find it frightening.
Well, I guess.
It depends on your belief system. We are going to start our show off by paying our respects, maybe, more or less, to Jack Chick, comic book artist who recently died at the age of 92. If you're not familiar with his work, he gained some notoriety as the artist of religious, I would call them propaganda comics and pamphlets. Most famously, perhaps, you may be familiar with his comic Dark Dungeons, which went on to explain the evils of Dungeons & Dragons and how it will corrupt children, introduce them to manipulative spirits and demons.
Yep.
And no one should ever play it, and it's anti-God and that kind of a thing. If you haven't read this comic, I recommend it. You can see the first panel from it behind us. It is bizarre and
Not only
weird.
that, there is a movie out, and I've watched some of it, and it's fantastic because it opens up like these two kids going to college for the first time, very pure girls. Like, it's like they go like, oh, those are the the generic movie, the cool kids when they see them. It's like it's the D&D kids, and it's just like the fun. You just like, yes, those are the cool tough kids who walk.
That's
campus.
how it was for us, man. Yeah, those kids are the coolest. He's a level 9 wizard. But yeah, so I don't know. It is kind of it's an interest. It sort of, I think, marks somewhat the end of an era of our time, because it's a weird thing, we don't talk about it that much nowadays, but there was a time when Dungeons & Dragons was seen as a frightening thing.
Not only that, Magic the Gathering, if you look at their older card history, they actually no appearance of demons for a time because of this kind of fear and stuff.
Right, and even Harry Potter went through some of that kind of thing. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, this was definitely the most hardcore of it that I know of. But I guess these comics, they're not made anymore,
or at least not in such high demand.
Perhaps not quite on this level. And Dungeons & Dragons, I think, is still around and has kind of escaped that
and
stigma.
still corrupting children to this day.
Still corrupting lots of children. So, I don't want to disrespect a guy who's dead, but he was super old, and honestly, based on his comics, probably not a very good person. but anyway, our best wishes to his family and other loved ones who are watching. I'm sure he's like hanging out with Gary Gygax and in the afterlife, or again, depending on your belief system. If you're afraid of that sort of thing, or you aren't, that's Jack Chick, R.I.P. Let's out with the old, in with the new.
All right.
In with the new versions of the old.
Yes.
Word of a new partnership.
Yes, a very surprising one.
Yes, between WizKids and Lookout Games. And Lookout Games were the designers, developers behind Agricola, which used to be under the Z-Man banner. There's this new version, which I think is actually already out, but this new version, and there's also like an anniversary edition coming, but WizKids is now co-publishing the Agricola series with Lookout, and specifically they announced 6 new expansions, which are part of this Agricola Upgrade Kit series. Each one comes with a different miniature, as well as brand new cards with new art. So the miniatures are your family members, instead of your tokens. And the cards are new cards. I believe they're totally new, but maybe a mix, or some are remakes of old ones. But it was unclear, and I was unable to find quite the information if these were supposed to be compatible with the original version that's out now, or if if you need these and the new anniversary edition, which is coming out like a long time from now. It was sort of strange. And then there's just the concept of 6 expansions with miniatures for Agricola, and is that really necessary? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can find anything else that really explained it, but what I know is that, when I think of the old Agricola, though, there was the Moors, the French one, the fairy, legendary.
There's the Beale Field or whatever it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of 6 expansions, it was close.
Well, I guess.
But the weird thing is, I guess, they felt different. Like, this felt like it's small. These feel like instantly, almost feels more like Dice Master chapter packs or something. Like, this is the Justice League expansion. This is the, the Spider-Man expansion. And of course, the new Agricola Dice Master is coming soon.
I think the difference is those expansions felt like natural progressions. This feels like they're saying, "Look, we have it's like DLC season pass announcement."
Yeah,
like
that's
here's our 6 things, and we're gonna because each one has 1 miniature in it. Is what they've said, as far as I could tell. So if you want to play a full game with 5 players or 6 players,
you need 30.
Yeah, you gotta buy all those Like that's a weird thing, I think.
Or you just play and everyone has the pads except for you, who has your family.
Right. And also, I mean, it is Whiz Kids, so maybe that's part of the thing. Like, miniatures are sort of their bread and butter. I wonder if that was, they were like, yeah, we'll take Agricola, but needs miniatures in there. I guess it's kind of weird, and also like
it is a weird pairing from them.
Yeah.
Because outside of HeroClix and Dice Masters, like that's all I really know them for, and except for they have Mage Knight. That's it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that I can really think of.
Yeah, that are their big ones. That comes close to being like a traditional tabletop, and even Mage Knight is somewhat miniatures.
No, it still is. But I mean, in terms of that, isn't just here's Spider-Man or Batman. Right.
Or yeah, exactly. So kind of strange. I'm curious about it. I do like the idea of an upgraded full version that has like they are redoing some of the art with the cards and stuff. I don't know how much I really need that many new cards. We've barely touched the ones we have, honestly, in the base game because you just pick randomly and there's so much stuff in there already. But I guess if you're a huge Agricola fan, which there are a lot of those out there, I don't know. It's weird. We'll see how it works. But I'm very curious to hear more information because I was confused by the press release. The way they refer to them as upgrade kits.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Is vague and I'm not potentially misleading. I'm not sure. That should be sometime in 2017, so you can find that out. Anyway, slow news week, but even a slow Kickstarter week. That was supposed to be it was a reference to. Forget it. It's a reference and a reference and a reference. It's a slow news week, so and it's a slow Kickstarter week. There are only 3 that but some pretty good ones. And the first one has a pretty good pedigree. Comes from Michael Oraz, whose name I don't know how to say, but he did this game, The Edge Dawnfall. And this is the guy behind Theseus and Neuroshima Hex. He also worked on Cry Havoc recently. As I just dropped my phone. When I pick it up, why don't you tell me what this game's like?
All right, so really this game is a miniatures game. And there's a bunch of, you can buy different group factions. There's 6 factions in total. But what's interesting is if you have 1 faction box, there's a single player when you fight the darkness. If you have 2, you can do 1v1. If you have more, you can do free-for-all or 2v2. Also, apparently, the game's played on 2 boards. There's the regular battlefield, and there's also a campaign, so you can also do a story mode. So this seems to be a very modular game in terms of what you can do with what you get. And of course, the miniatures are fabulously done, and they're not all the same size. Some of them are this, some look like they're much like twice or 3 times the size of the regular units. So
it's going to be it's already funded, I believe, by a lot.
I cannot remember the funding level for it.
But if with this many miniatures, I assume it's going to be a big hit, and a good designer. I mean, I've played 2 of those. We haven't played Neuroshima, although don't we have a copy?
Neil has it.
Okay, at some point we'll have to try that out. And I mean, it seems like a no-brainer that we'll like that game because we love all the Portal games and his other games. So yeah, I'm looking for. And as you said,
it's definitely. I think if you like miniatures, this is definitely one for you to look into because, like I said, it's modular. So if you only get it, you still have to do something on your own. If you can get a friend to get one, then you can fight against each other. You can do co-op together, go up against. It builds to what you want.
And it's when you back it, the first tier is $55, and that gets you one faction.
Right. There's one faction. You get one that's a dual faction box of the different ones, and there's 6 factions total, and you can get all 6 in one big box. And from what I can tell, it's actually getting like almost 2 of each faction. Like at least it showed 2 big of the big ones. I didn't really visually count for all. Mm-hmm. So I think that was like I can't remember, like 250 or something. But I mean, look the prices. But like I said, many pledge levels for whatever your
needs may be. That's the Edge Dawnfall, which is kind of a bad name. That's one thing I will say. They could have worked on that one. Next up is Guild Masters. This is one that I was saying I backed right away before I even knew what it was, because it comes from Mirrorbox Games, who did Chaosmos, which, if you've been watching our show for a while, you probably heard us praising it, because we loved that game. So I was really excited. This is their second game. Totally different, not a sci-fi theme at all. It's much more of a fantasy-based thing, and it actually sounded a lot like, I think you'll remember, there was a game on the DS, a video game, where you manage a shop in the world of an RPG, and you're selling items to like quests.
I don't remember a DS game, but I know on Steam there's one. What's that?
Oh, well, I guess there's multiple, or I don't know if they're related or not, but I do remember it's on Steam. But anyway, this game is like that, basically. Each person has their own guild, and throughout you're going to be gathering resources and building items out of those resources in order to send heroes on quests. And if you can send them on the quest before anyone else makes the items, you'll get more money, you'll get more prestige, which are your points, and you can also expand your guild, add more rooms to it, which may give you special bonuses, more space to store resources, special abilities, that kind of a thing. And it looks like a pretty fun concept of a game. Actually, like fairly easy to learn just based on watching the video they showed. Much less. Doesn't have quite the like really cool gimmick that I liked of Chaosmos, which was the hidden ovoid, which was really like, wow, I've never seen that in a game before.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure in this game, whoever builds the ovoid first wins.
Right, yeah, that's the alternate play. So it didn't grab me as much, but digging into it, it does sound actually like a really fun game, and you may like that fantasy theme more than you like the sci-fi theme. Plus, it is an interesting concept because there aren't a lot of I still think it's interesting, even though I had seen it in those video games. There's no board games where you manage a shop, as far as I know. So yeah, that's Guild Masters. That one goes for $50. If you want to back that, based on Chaosmos, I think it's going to be really, really good. And last one. Tell me about this one. It's called Havenfall.
Yeah, we're staying in the fantasy realm, but this time we're taking it to an 8-bit style.
Beep boop.
So in this game, you're all heroes trying to save the realm.
Love that realm.
Gotta love the realm. They have names, of course, but I can't remember the specific names. And it's a deck building game. It's similar to Dominion, in which you choose which cards to use, set them up, cheaper to expensive. But a lot of the cards and spells have things that trigger if you can pay the pixels. To get pixels, you have to defeat monsters, and so there's 4 different colors, and when you defeat a monster, you get that pixel color. A pixel breaks off of them. So not only is it the regular deck building we're used to, it's also deciding whether I kill the monster to get that resource so I can cast a stronger version of a spell or not.
Huh. And I like that it literally uses pixels. Like they're really going all in on the theme.
And the monsters, actually, there's going to be 3 monsters out at a time. And when you defeat one, they slide over. But the rightmost one is considered a boss monster, and he's much harder to beat. There's a boss. They have like a regular value and a boss value.
I hope they don't use the term boss monster because that's trademarked.
I don't know if they call it boss monster. I think they just call it the boss.
Okay.
But if you beat it, not only do you get the pixel color, but you get points. And the first to 10 points is the true hero of.
Okay.
So this balancing of like getting resources, maybe killing that to get the points.
Is there any sort of cooperation, it sounded like, or no, it's fully...
It's fully, as far as I could tell.
It's not like Legendary where it's like semi or something like that.
Not really, not that I could see.
But seems like that's almost, even though Boss Monster is pretty big, I can't really think of any other 8-bit board. I mean, I'm sure there's been some on Kickstarter, but it isn't totally run into the ground.
Well,
yet.
video gamers and board gamers apparently don't get along.
Yeah, they're on opposite sides of the fence. Well, what's that other game? It's somewhat recent. We sell it on our site. I forget what it's called, but there's one that's
Pixel
like
Tactics.
Pixel Tactics. That's true. It
literally has the name Pixel.
Yeah, that's true. Then there's one that was like Maximus Questimus, had like a subtitle or something. Maximus Questimus. There's a few out there, but it's interesting because it is 8-bit is such a. That could be anything.
It could, but I do think there is a trend, like, that people who really like 8-bit and stuff are like I'm living back to old days when games are super hard and you didn't have a save point.
Right,
and stuff.
More of the tactical style of games. Pixel Tactical. Episode title? Maybe not.
But yeah, definitely check it out if you're into pixels or into the fancy and deck building genre.
Yeah, that is Haven Fall goes for $40 on Kickstarter. You can find the links to these Kickstarters below if you want to check them out and back them. You might like them if you like spending money on board games. Now, it is Halloween today, but we had our Halloween party earlier because it's a Monday. Who has parties on a Monday? And we got a chance to play some games with some with some big groups. First, you played Smash Up.
Yes.
Specifically with the latest expansion.
Yeah, we allowed everyone to pick everything, but I made sure to I was the Dragon Sharks.
Okay, which are both from It's Your Fault.
Yes, both from It's Your Fault.
And were the other two from It's Your Fault in the mix?
Three. Tornadoes were not. I'm trying to remember the other two. No, the other two were not.
Okay.
But we did have both Cthulhu and Munchkin in here, so we're using also those decks.
It was a smash up of Smash Up.
And I will say the Sharks and Dragons were a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them, and they were really interesting to play with. But the big thing I think that at least the first time I recall this was in It's Your Fault that I'm doing now in the box set, was instead of just, here's the base deck, Swamp, I actually pulled out everyone's bases that referred to the groups they picked. So I pulled out all the bases that referred to the Dragons, that referred to the Sharks, that referred to the Wizards, the Mages, yes, both groups were chosen, Ninjas, Dinosaurs. We had mostly base, we had a lot of the original base guys in there. But throwing them in there, so those came out first, so people had more of an advantage. And I think that actually made things a lot more interesting because for the Munchkin person, they can guarantee there are going to be monsters on the field. For the other people, for me as a Shark, I got some bases that involved killing things, which is great for me. Yeah. So I think that worked a lot better. So much that if you know the big geeky box that comes with little dividers of sort and one's for bases, I don't have the bases behind there anymore. Everyone's basis is with their group. So when you choose your group, you take it out and give the person the bases.
I like that. I think that's a no-brainer kind of a thing.
I pretty much also chose I threw in 3 more extra bases randomly. But overall, I think that worked out a lot nicer. Because that way
it ensures that everyone's engaged with a base. At least one person will be interested in it. And wasn't there another game just recently where there was some house rule that we were like, oh yeah, we should always do this? I think you said it for some game. I can't remember, but
it was the Unspeakable Words we played a while ago. Did we talk about that on the show?
We did talk about that on the show.
Okay.
Wait, did we talk about? No, we didn't talk about that on the show.
Wow, we forgot to talk.
It's not on our slider.
It's not on our slider. But we played Unspeakable Words.
We can get to that too.
And we'll talk about that next episode. Okay. But there were some house rules in there that personally I'll be like, I wouldn't want to play without them.
Teaser. But we're going to talk about another game that came from Kickstarter. Mangaka.
Yeah, that actually arrived in the mail that day.
Yes. So it was fresh out of the box. We got to play it. This is a really interesting game. Basically, you're all drawing comics.
Yeah, it's based on, manga artists, but, draw whatever style you are. And so it's just whatever comic style you have. So you pretty much start off drawing with 2 panels with some restrictions. Then you go to 4, then 6, then 8, and this is all within about 5 minutes time, give or take.
We played with 6 minutes for each round. So, 6 minutes to draw 2 panels of a comic isn't that hard, but to draw 8 panels can be tricky. And you didn't get to the cards yet?
No. First, everyone has obsessions. You have 3 things that have to be in all your comics. For example, for me, I had film or movies, desire for justice, and bling. You, on the other hand,
mine were fine art Hero Foretold by Prophecy, and Fortune Telling. So those two were a gimme, like they ran right next to each other. So my story was about a guy who was foretold to save an art museum from bad art.
And mine was, I believe his name was James Blingston, great movie actor by day, Super Bling Manu, superhero, secret agent ninja by night.
So it is called Mangaka. It's inspired by manga, but you can see you kind of embraced that theme, but you don't have to. I didn't at all. So it is very freeform.
Like I actually did, which is really funny and probably not in my best interest. Like I actually tried to draw out characters a little bit when you're just like circle, line, right. Mustache.
And we both. Some of the people at our table have experience in some way of either reading a lot of comics or sometimes, even if it's just doodling, right?
Everyone,
comics.
I definitely think everyone at our table has experience reading comics.
Right.
And I mean like a reasonable amount. So I would say it's interesting because I think three of them, two people are very heavy in more in the American comic, two are very heavy in the Japanese, and one is heavy in both.
So it's an interesting place to come from.
Yes.
So I don't know. Well, yeah. What did you think of? So you kickstarted it. So satisfied?
I really liked the drawing aspect, and it was a lot of fun trying to come up with some stuff, like getting those restrictions. And we forgot to mention, as you go through each panel, there are also trends because things become trendy and popular, so you have to do. And some of those are hilarious, like the underdog, or like whoever makes the biggest word bubble or the most sound effects.
You should clarify. You don't have to include them, but you will not get points for each thing you don't do.
But it's sort of fun to force you to think, how can I include this? Which becomes hilarious, especially your comic always ended with, okay.
Yeah, one person just said, okay.
But I think the one thing that we've seen, our only issue with it, and for what it is though, I don't think it's as bad of an issue compared to something else, is the scoring.
I guess so. So that was my. When you first explained the scoring rules, I was just like, I was really confused because I felt the way that they explained it was a little strange. Like I said, you have these things that you have to do, but because they're so concrete, it's not like a judging game. It's not like apples to apples. You're not voting or anything. It's just like, did you do this? Then you get a point. And as we went further into the deeper rounds, when it became more complicated and there were more things to get points for, it started, I feel, to clear out a little bit where it made more sense. Like, well, you're not going to be able to include everything, so you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to do. But in like the first 2 rounds of 4, it really felt like almost pointless to include points because everybody did it, so it was like, well, either you just decide not to get points if you want to, or you get them. I definitely want to try to come up with a house rule for it, but I understand why. Like, I don't think it should be a judgment thing because you don't want to like make someone feel bad. You don't want to base it on their art abilities or something like that. So it's a tough thing. Like, I don't blame them for not having the perfect solution to it. But I want to think about it more.
I guess for me, one of the things is it didn't matter as much because it was almost like you want to try to get points just so you have those restrictions on you. You don't want to just be like, I don't care, I'm going to draw whatever I want.
Right.
But it was really fun to just be like, all right, what did you draw? And just be like, meantime, in the city of town, like in just this amazing, like.
Well, I think that's the tough balance because it is that I did, like the most fun I had was just when I decided, you know what, I just need to finish this story. I'm not worrying about those trends. But then it is to gamify. You have to have some kind of a structure. So it's a tough line to walk.
I think you want to have people be forced to try to go for the trends. I mean, you don't have to.
Right.
But I mean, it's definitely fun when you think like, how am I fitting an underdog or how am I fitting a named celebrity in this panel.
I do think for the last round there were 4 trends. I think that's too many.
I liked it, actually.
I don't know. I thought it was like, it overwhelmed me a little bit. I would be okay with maybe 3. But like at the end of it is, if you like drawing comics, you have friends who like to draw silly, dumb comics, it's super fun. And honestly, I would say just ignore maybe not ignore, like try the points, but it's almost like concept where I would be fine just throwing those out and just playing for fun.
I would almost agree with you. It's just that I feel like if you do actually remove the points, then people are just gonna be like, I made a shark. But what about your obsessions? Who cares about my obsessions?
Right. Yeah. That's why it's a tough thing. Depends on your group, but yeah. Or just just to get some paper and draw comics is fun. But that's Mangaka. Look for it if you like comics. That sounds like your cup of tea. Then it's something you should check out. Then finally, we played 2 spooky social deduction hidden role games. One that we've played many times, and one technically that we hadn't played before, although probably we've played some variations of it in the past. First was Resistance Avalon. We've done a playback for this. We've discussed this. We really love this game, but I thought this was a particularly interesting one to talk about, just from the perspective of you and I and our friend Greg, and we were the three bad guys, hidden, and we lost, and I completely blame Greg.
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
And basically what happened is we had, I think both sides had 2 wins, right?
Yes.
Both,
no,
that's not true. No, it was the 4th round. We had 2 wins, but we needed 2 fails on this round to.
Oh well, first we have to go. First, we're in the 4th round. We're not in the 5th round yet.
Right.
We had 2 wins, but we needed 2 fails in this round, and only one person was in there. So there's no way you can win. He still voted no, letting the people know.
Right. Basically, even though there was no way that it could have failed, and he knew that, he confirmed there was a bad guy on that mission, which was made no sense.
And then the next best thing, because I helped Percival, I pretty much gave Percival the team, the final team comp, was he approved Percival's team.
That was the worst.
Knowing no bad guy was on it.
Yeah, at that point it was, and I think it was, that would have broken
he was the final vote. Yeah. He was, because he actually also was the last one. He's like, oh, this. Like
it was Greg's a little he was tired, but anyway, which I was kind of a bummer for me, because I actually felt like until those 2 turns, I thought we were doing a great job. Even
though Merlin and Percival were communicating well, the person I would argue is the person honestly we always look to for information, we actually had him bamboozled.
Yes, so there are those times when in a game like this where I know, like, oh, if he does this, then I just can't lie about it. But things worked out in such a way that it was like I had the best excuses and cover stories. I was so happy. And yeah, so it was kind of...
It just goes to show you in those games, sometimes it's just, depending on who's on your team, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, but it was still really fun, and it was better than... The worst, in my opinion, of Resistance is when, like, everybody figures it out right away. Like, people were guessing up until the very end.
I will say one thing I realized earlier, because I killed Percival, and he's like, no, because I got Neil
at the end of the game.
Yeah, and like Neil said, don't put Will on the team. I was actually in the bathroom when he said that, so I didn't hear that information. I feel like, I was like, wait, oh crap, I might have been able to catch that then.
That's a little bit of a bummer.
So that's what I get. For now on, never leave the table.
So that was that. Then we played Werewolf, Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times.
Revised edition. Oh, that's true. We did play it a lot. I forgot because it's so fast.
But we did the basic one first, then we did with all the different roles.
Now I have played Werewolf just like with people, without any cards, and
I've done like Mafia.
Right, and I was never really a fan of it. I was like, I'd much rather just play the Resistance. This version, it actually has roles, but there's one person's a moderator / narrator, and they choose who dies and stuff. I don't know. Well, for me, I'll just start. It is what it is. Everybody's played Werewolf, so I feel like I don't need to go into too much detail. But especially right after Avalon, I really felt there was a stark difference of you have so little info to go on in Werewolf, and so much more of it is about role playing and storytelling. Yeah. And I really, for me, half the reason I enjoyed it as much as I did is because I was pretty drunk at that point, and I was just having fun making up a story. But I really feel as a game,
for me,
it doesn't cut it.
I'm gonna be honest. My favorite part of that is being the narrator.
Yeah, I had a little bit of fun in our last game. I was the seer, so I got to at least find out information.
Yeah.
So at least I had something. But even then, it was because I can't say I know they're a werewolf, or I know they're not a werewolf, because then the werewolf's going to kill me.
Well, that's actually what Neil did, and he did die.
Yeah, it's a struggle, and we didn't use every role. There were 1 or 2 we didn't.
We didn't use the witch, sorcerer, and the masons.
But I'm really, I really want to try. We still haven't had a chance to try one night.
for me, I don't know about the other expansions and whatnot, but I used to play on StarCraft 2. They actually had a modded server, like a game mode, so you can actually play Mafia. Except they had like 50 roles.
Oh, okay.
So all this.
I think I remember you talking about this once.
And like, I think that made things a lot more interesting because you weren't sure. And sometimes even villages had body armor. Like if you played the game enough, you got body armor. Means you could live for another time. But like, for example, one of the roles was actually like the jester who wants to be killed. He wins if he's killed.
That's interesting.
So, and then there's like, the mass murderer who's his own character who just kills once a night or something. The serial killer instead of the mafia leader and his co-henchmen. So like, but that requires a bigger group. But I do think it's definitely, to make the game much more likable, you do need a lot more different roles to make it more, to really bring the interest up. Like, that's what made the hunter so fun as soon as we introduced him, because we realized the hunter can ruin the werewolf's life.
Right.
Even if he's down to the final
When the
pick.
hunter dies, he gets to kill someone.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little more interesting. Yeah, I feel like it makes sense as a game really for people who are totally like rules phobic. Like they don't want to read a rule book. They don't want to have to read cards. You know what I mean? Like super simple for a large group is like an icebreaker or like a really like casual party. Like I would introduce this to people like who never played any board games. But as like if you have, I just think there's no reason to play this over Avalon or the Resistance at all. And I wanted, like, I think one night, which we did tried to do it once at the convention, but it sounds like that really improves it. But yeah, that's my take on it. But I don't know.
So overall, we started up with a lot of crazy, weird stuff of sharks and dragons and what more. Then we tried just a job, a fake job, and then we decided to find out who the traitors were.
Yeah.
Oh, we should mention, in all 3 games, the werewolf won.
Yeah, that is true. I got to be the werewolf once. Were you the werewolf ever?
No, I was never the werewolf. I was a seer the first time and died pretty much right away. The second game, I was a hunter, and at the very end, it was between you and Neil. And because it was something you did, because you misinterpreted the hunter vote, I'm like, there's no way you're the werewolf.
Oh, right.
Like, you could have won if you did something.
Yeah.
And then I shot Neil instead of you. So you won by just looking. Oh wow, they killed it themselves.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So anyway, that's where, and also the player elimination thing is a bummer too. I mean, there's a reason that's looked down upon. But it is a very fast game, to be fair. But if you're playing with 20 people. Anyway, we do have just a few viewer mails to round out our show. First, Shonen Jump Boy. Loves Shonen Jump.
Oh, you should check out the manga game.
Yep, yeah, there you go. That one's for you. Well, he watched our Nightmare 3 video. Says he loved it. This has to be the scariest version yet. I can't argue with him there. Hope you do Nightmare 4.
Why do you bring this on us?
What do you have against us? But then he says, great content. Hope you only get more successful. Well, thanks, Shonen Jump Boy. I hope you're watching this and you're true to your word of supporting us.
Jonathan will be watching you all.
We also talked about the Widow's Walk expansion for Betrayal at House on the Hill. Well, the channel Dumb Guys Talk About Smart Stuff commented saying they have played 2 of the new haunts. One seemed unbalanced, and the other was very close and came down to our last move. So, sounds like, again, like original Betrayal, there's a mixed bag where sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So, we have yet to try any new ones. So I'm surprised, actually, we didn't play any on Halloween. That seems like a no-brainer, too.
Well, I think what happened was the smash-up took much longer than we thought, and then everyone's just like, let's eat and have... We didn't mention this, but we also played a lot of Jackbox, because that fits a lot of people, and we always get to laugh, and Jonathan's got to get his thumbs.
I got some good thumbs in that game.
Is there a round you didn't get the most thumbs?
No. And finally, this one I thought was interesting. We talked about the game Mythos Tales, which is behind us on the shelf. Solomon Barber says he bought this and found it doesn't work with 4 players. A lot of people end up playing on their phones. Would say this should be 1 to 2 players. We've always played with 3.
Yes.
And that sounds to me very group dependent. I would agree like maybe 5, but definitely like 6 plus. Probably sounds like too much, but 4 I think is doable. I think if people are on their phone with 4, then that's more of a group problem in my opinion.
I mean, that depends on your group. I mean, if you have that kind of group, I'm betting this game alone won't take out your phones. I know there's plenty of times when I'll take out something, depending on how long turns take, what my problem with this one would be, with the phone one in particular, is some other games, it like doesn't matter if I'm watching. I can't affect it, but this, like, depending on what you read or what you find out might affect where I'm gonna go and where I find out. And like, that's why, like, this feels more like, if you take out your phone in this game, to me, feels more like taking out a phone in a movie.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I do think 1 to 3 it may be the sweet spot, but I think 4 would be doable.
No, I think 4 would be doable, but I do like our 3 because, one, it's our very close-knit group of 3. It's not like 3 random strangers or something.
Right.
And 2, what really happens is you have a break. You're not going back and forth, but you still get that nice sort of just long enough that you stay attentive.
You feel involved.
You don't even feel that need to take out the phone, so to speak.
But yeah, if anyone else, that or Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, I'd be curious to hear about people's player accounts.
I just realized there is something else that might help with that. We actually do unintentionally, mostly out of laziness.
Yeah.
You're supposed to pass everything around as you do, but what we actually do is, or at least in Mythos Tales, I had and Red did all the reading. Neil had the directory, and Neil had the newspapers. You had the directory, so everyone had a job.
Right.
And I think that really helps because if someone says, "Where's this?" and you can be like, "I got it."
And I did the directory and take notes, so for the fourth person, they could have the notebook.
Exactly. So I think that what you need to do is make sure everyone has a job, and don't let one person do everything. And this way also, and I say lazy, but I found it better because then I was like, Jonathan, here's all the stuff you need for your turn. Like, instead you can just be like, this is where I want to go, and I look it up, it's...
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good way. That's a good solution for it. Well, hey, that's the end of our show.
Is it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got to talk to you about.
No more Roll for Crit. This is the last one. We're done.
Hope you had a good month of October. We're finally going to get rid of this Halloween decorations, move into November. We'll see. No more Halloween playbacks, but some cool stuff coming up.
Because this is Halloween, and we did ask this before, but we're going to ask again.
Yeah.
Send us pictures of your Halloween board game costumes.
Yes, or honestly anything, even if it's like remotely related to board games. We'll show a picture.
We'll take anything nerdy.
Please, you can do so. Send us a link by email or attach an image to an email at rollforcrit@gmail.com. Or if you just have a regular question or comment about board games, you could comment on this video right here below.
And of course, there's other ways you can hear from us and talk to us. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Not Vine no more because they're closing that down.
Not Vine no more. And then find us on the web, rollforcrit.com. We sell games, lots of awesome games that we talked about today, plus more. Please go look at them. Plus we have all our videos there, news links. It's a great stop for all your board game needs, rollforcrit.com.
But for now, I'm Scary Will.
And I'm Ookie Spooky Jonathan. This has been Roll for Crit.
I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and a happy Halloween to you all. What just happened in my throat?
You had like
you glitched. There's a glitch in the matrix.
I thought that was in my headphones.
I was just like, I can't go on. Well, all right, let's try that again.
You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2.